Hello guys, welcome to my next video. In this series we are learning routing in Angular and you guys are coding along with me. That is really awesome, and as you know, I have uploaded my code on GitHub handler. You can just go there and download the code and code along with me in every video. So in this video we will learn how we can pass parameters to Angular route. We have done so far, like we have set up routing, we can navigate, we learned how to navigate to different route, and you guys also code along with me. So in this lecture we will pass parameters, so that could happen that we could have passed parameters with the route. So how we will do that, let's see in this video. So if we go to app.module, here we have three components registered already: home, users, and server. So I am going to add another uh, route here called users, but with this route we will add parameters, like we can add id, we can add name, whatever thing we want to add. In this route I am going to add colon id. So remember, this colon is very important. If we do not write this column, then this Angular will consider that as a static string, and it could be user slash id. Instead of id having a number or something, it will consider that id as a string. So this colon thing is very much important. And now we have, since we have added that, in this code which you will download and you have just run on your application, I believe you have run that already. So in this code I have already added a user component too. So the name of component, we have two components, one is users and another component is user. And now when we get to the page on user, we are already on users component. When I add some parameters like 1 2 3 or something, just only one, you see still it loads. It loaded the data, and it loaded the data of user only. It loaded data of user component, not users component. So that's how we can just pass parameters. Now how we can get that parameter in the component, how we can utilize that parameters, you see, in certain conditions we want to retrieve this parameter what is passed in the URL. How we can do that, let's see it. Instead of passing one parameter as id, I am going to pass basically two parameters. One is id and another parameter is name. So we have passed two parameters here. And how we will retrieve that, we'll get to, so here we will get to user component here. And how we retrieve the parameters, let's see that. In the constructor we will initialize it route, and we will initialize that with activated route. So remember, we need to import that activated route also from Angular router. We have imported that, and now we can use this route and it will give us the parameters which we have passed in the URL. And we also want to display that parameter here. If you see users 1/test, if you see here, we want to display id next to this id, and also we want to display username is, which we will pass in the parameters. From the URL we will display that data in component true. So here in this ng on init, we will do this dot route dot snapshot. So it will take snapshot of our URL, and now we can work around on this snapshot, and we can just get the data what we want. And here we will get params, and the name of params is id. So we can retrieve this id here, but how we will display that id in our component? For displaying it, I have already set up this user object here. So user object is already set up here. What we have to do, we have to just use this user object like this. And now we have retrieved the id and name from the url and also passed this id and name here in the user object. Do remember one thing, guys. The name of this id should be same what we have set up in app.module here id, and also the name string, that should also be the same what we are retrieving here. So if the names, if the strings are not matching, if we call here name, and in this app module if you call it names, then this will create an error and this will not work, because the name of parameter should be same what we are passing and what we are retrieving in our component. So there, that name should be same. Please do remember that thing. And once we have assigned that and the object is ready, now we can display that data in our html. How we will do that? You see, we'll use interpolation and we'll do user.id, and also for the name we will do user.name. So let's see if we see that data here. So you see, guys, after loading the page, now we have passed in the url like 1 and test, and here it is saying that user with id 1 and username with test. Now I am passing something else, like I am passing id as 5 and I am passing name as Alex. So you see, it immediately changed in the DOM also, and it changed the ID and it displayed the IDs which is given in the URL, and also same thing for the name. So that is how we can pass parameters in our routing, and also we can retrieve those parameters and use that in our component. So guys, stay tuned. There are a lot more coming up in my next videos. I will just tell you how powerful Angular is, how we can make static web and mobile application with this Angular, and there are a lot more coming up, guys, in my next video. So stay tuned. I'll see you in my next video. Thank you.